Hey, it's a blessing to have you here with me again. For those of you who have been following the Word of God, I have been talking about triggers. Last week, I talked about the joy trigger, and we used as a text the book of Nehemiah and how joy can literally be triggered in our lives. Well, tonight I'd like us to look at another trigger that I believe can have profound impact on your life. And I believe it's safe to say all of us, perhaps at one time or another, we have literally experienced this trigger. I'm going to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 through 7. That's where I'm going. And I want to talk about this trigger we call love. Love is the trigger. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 through 7 says, "Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not, charity vaunteth not itself, it is not puffed up, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth." Verse 5 says, "It doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil." I'll read verse 6 again. "Rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things." Yes, I want to talk to you tonight about love is the trigger. And as I said, I think it's safe to say that all of us at one time or another, we have perhaps been triggered by love. When I speak about being triggered by love, I'm talking about all of a sudden you see somebody and you find yourself attracted to that person. When I say you find yourself attracted to that person, they have literally triggered you. They have awakened you. They have captivated your attention. They have impressed you with who they are. Something about their persona, something about their personality is literally engaging, is literally tying you into who they are. It can be said that this thing, this trigger called love, is so profound in terms of giving you a feeling. In fact, when somebody is in love, It's said that sometimes their head is literally in the clouds, and all kinds of things are literally happening to their bodies as they experience this trigger called love. Sometimes their knees are knocking. Sometimes the palms of their hands literally become sweaty. Sometimes there are butterflies in their stomach. Sometimes their heart is literally racing, or their pulse has literally been quickened, or sometimes their breath has literally been taken away. Falling in love produces hormones and chemical messages that can literally give you a high. Are you listening? When most people think of love, they think of the heart. They think about Valentine's Day cards. And Valentine's Day cards, they're all depicted, they show them in the shape of a heart, or you have candy boxes shaped in a heart. All of the romantic stuff, they literally display them around the heart. But there's another organ that I believe we need to look at tonight. And I want us to shift from looking at the heart to what is really going on. I want us to look at the brain. Love may be associated with the heart, but it blooms in the brain. That's where love flourishes. That's where love grows, right there in the brain, in your mind, in your thinking. That's where love really takes place. And I'd like us to look at some of the chemicals that are released in our bodies as we literally fall in love. For example, there is dopamine. Dopamine, well, what is that? It's called the brain literally releases high amounts of dopamine, and the brain is flooded with this. It's flooded with this chemical to such a degree that you feel like you are walking on clouds. It's the euphoric feeling. It's the release of a high. They say, the scientists say, that it's the equivalent to cocaine being released in the body. Wow, you think about that, and multitudes of dopamine are literally displayed in the brain when somebody falls in love, because the dopamine literally gives a high feeling, and the person is triggered into a high. I was thinking about dopamine and how it's triggered into the brain. And I wonder if sometimes we desire or we want our partners or our relationships or our husbands or our wives to be the ones who are going to literally trigger this dopamine in our brain, which can literally be a hard thing for them to achieve. Well, not only is dopamine literally triggered in the brain, but there's another chemical that's also triggered in the brain, and it's called serotonin. Serotonin. It is the pride you feel when you are with someone. Serotonin, it's the pride you feel. It's the affection that you feel. It's the reward you feel when you're in the presence of somebody. So serotonin, it's a powerful, powerful chemical that's released in the brain. And then there's this last one called oxytocin, and it's nicknamed the love hormone because it releases that love feeling. It releases that feeling of being bonded to this particular person. And so the question that remains is, how do you keep all these chemicals active? How do you keep these chemicals alive? How do you keep them active in your brain so that you do not fall out of love? Because a lot of people are falling out of love. Well, they say that exercise can literally produce large amounts of dopamine. They say music can do that. They say moving the body can do that. They say that getting more light from the sunlight can do that. They say eating certain foods can do that. And here's something else that they have proven to be able to do that. Reading the Word of God. Now you think about that. As you read the Word of God, as you meditate on the Word of God, it has the capacity, it has the power to release these wonderful chemicals in your brain. And I'm going to the Word of God because I believe the Word of God has the answers. The love that we are looking for is found in the Word of God. And the Word of God that we are looking at is right here in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Paul uses the word charity, but you can also substitute the word charity for love. The love that we are looking at in our text is the bridge to God's future. That the love that you see in this text is the bridge to God's future. It's the walkway to God's future. It's the connection to God's future. It's the springboard to God's future. Because as you read this chapter, Paul gives us a list of things that will fail. He says prophecies will cease. He says tongues will vanish away. But then he says if there's anything that's going to stand, that's going to be around forever and ever, it's love. Because love is literally the grammar, it's the language of heaven. And we are forever trying to get this grammar right, get this love thing right. I believe that love is the language, it's the behavior of what is going on in heaven right now. And I believe that Paul got insight into what was going on by divine revelation. And Paul is talking about the language of heaven. And Paul says, when I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. But he said, when I became a man, he says, I put away childish things. So Paul is basically giving us a glimpse of this love language that's so powerful and dynamic that we need to be displaying on this side of life. If a marriage is going to work, marriage is the main ingredient. If relationships are going to work, marriage is, love is the main ingredient. And so here we are in this text. And I just want to talk about some of the characteristics, some of the behaviors of love. Number one, love behaving emotionally. Look at what it says in verse 4. I'm substituting the word charity for love. He says, love suffereth long and is kind. Love envieth not. Love vaunteth not itself. It is not puffed up. In other words, true love will be patient and it will endure. It deals with the emotions of the ups and downs of life. You know that love can be emotional. Sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down. But when you have God's love, it gives you that ability to endure, to hang in there until things get better, to hang in there until a change comes. There's a second thing here: love behaving selflessly. It says, doth not behave itself unseemly, thinketh not her own, is not easily puffed up, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil. Love seeks the welfare of others as it serves the Lord. Love seeks the welfare of others as it serves the Lord. True love is ignited by the power of God, and true love is not easily ignited by anger. And neither does it hold on to resentment, and neither does true love seek revenge. Let's move on. We're looking at this love, and I believe that Paul was really talking about the agape love. And this agape love is self-giving love. It's the love that hangs in there. Agape love can keep erotic love alive. Talk to me. That's what this agape love can do. It's so dynamic because it does not seek its own. Agape love is a personal act of commitment. That's what this love is all about. It's a personal act of commitment. Agape love is a divine type of love. Agape love is kindness. It is being sympathetic. It is being thoughtful. It is being sensitive to the needs of our loved ones. That's what this agape love is about. Agape love is being gentle when the dinner is burnt. Talk to me. It's being gentle. It's squelching the urge to ask whether she's been eating more candy or not when she's overweight. Talk to me, somebody. Yes, you see, this love is a love of commitment, learning to live with less than perfection, because nobody is perfect. Agape love is forgiving your partner, not just once, but over and over again. All the people who literally live in your life. Number 3, love behaving truthfully. It says, rejoiceth, not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth. Love does not rejoice in iniquity. It does not rejoice when people fall into hard times or rough situations. While I was preparing and getting myself ready for this, I remember some years back. The years come and they have gone, and my wife was driving our car, and while she was driving her car, she had an accident, and she smashed the car up, and the car was a wreck. And we had the car parked in our driveway, and it was sitting there. And one of the members from our church came by, and while she came by, she actually saw the car all smashed up. And it just so happened at that particular time, I was just looking out of the window. Why I was looking out of the window? I just felt like looking out of the window. So I'm looking out of the window, and she's looking at our car all smashed up, and it kind of shocked me. She was rejoicing. She got happy, and she was all happy about our misfortune. And then when she pressed the doorbell, she put on the most saddest face I've ever seen. And from a facial expression, it would seem as if she was sympathetic, that she was kind to what we were literally experiencing. Far from it. What Paul is saying to us is that true love does not rejoice in the misfortunes of other people. It does not gloat. It does not share the misfortunes that other people go through. And last of all, here it is, love behaving outwardly. That's what it does. It's not just an introverted thing, but it's extroverted. It behaves outwardly. Listen to what Paul says. It beareth all things. It believeth all things. It hopeth all things. It endureth all things. Love bears all things. It will shield. It believeth all things. It seeks not its own. Love seeks out the most favorable options when dealing with situations that are problematic. And love hopeth all things. Love is dynamic, and love endures. Love that endures is a love that remains. And that's what Paul is talking about. He's talking about a love that will remain through the thick and through the thin. Well, my brothers and my sisters, it's been a blessing sharing the word of God with you. Therefore, cultivate love, demonstrate love, and elevate love, and generate love one with another. God bless you. Bye for now, Dr. Bair.